So in part one, I replaced the throttle body. The new throttle body is giving me different OBD codes that have to do with the throttle position sensor. There are at least 4 different generations of throttle body position sensors, TPS, throttle position sensor. I believe the one that was shipped has a generic, or the one installed has a generic Generation 1 or Generation 2 throttle position sensor. This is a newer style, it's a Generation 4 Motorcraft. Part number is DY1164. So I went on Rock Auto, I think for around $60, and bought the new style throttle position sensor. In retrospect, I should have not bought the cheapest throttle body I could find, just so happened to be an AutoZone. I should have paid more money and wait from either Napa or wherever, and I should have paid more money initially to get either an OE grade or OE itself throttle body, because it would have been shipped with the correct parts on it, or at least parts that work, a low failure rate. So in short, today's video we're going to change out an older style throttle position sensor and put in a genuine Motorcraft throttle position sensor. And that should hopefully fix my issues. I also again will record the reset of the ECU so it'll relearn this throttle body. I'm going to quickly show you the differences in these throttle position sensors. So this is the original throttle body from the Expedition, and this I believe is a Generation 1. It has a tapered rounded bottom to it, and then make sure that's in focus, pretty sure. So hopefully you can see that. It has a rounded bottom to it. The Generation 4 throttle position sensor is rectangular, it's chonky, it's pretty big, comes out, and that's taller, so you can see next to it, you know, it has a little more heft, you know, to it. So different shape, different size. Obviously they changed something in here. Now I will say the throttle position sensor on the AutoZone house brand throttle body looks similar. This one is thicker, and it's not OEM, so I really don't know what it's doing. So like I said, hopefully the OEM part is going to work, and the AutoZone part will probably go in the trash. So obviously you're always going to want to follow the directions. In here we have directions from Motorcraft directly that talk about heating up the throttle body on this part with a heat gun. So you're going to direct the heat to this even though you're replacing this. So you're going to heat up with the heat gun right on this tang right here. This right here, and you're going to heat it up until it reaches 130 degrees Fahrenheit. It shouldn't take any more than 3 minutes with a 1100 watt heat gun. The heat gun should be about 1 inch away from the throttle body. The heat will transfer through the throttle body and heat the thread locker that is on the TPS bolts. So there's thread locker on the bolts, blue, standard blue. I'm going to take a risk, so this throttle body has never heated up, so I am going to attempt, you know, follow the directions. You should heat this up first, but since this has never gone through a heat cycle, I'm going to attempt, we'll see what happens, but attempt to take these out. So it is hand tight, so either AutoZone doesn't use thread locker, or my guess, it just hasn't gone through a heat cycle. So let's check it out. There's no thread locker on that screw. Indicator number 1. These are cheap. Yeah, this was hand tight. This is no big deal. But you know, if you're replacing the throttle position sensor on your OE throttle body, follow the directions and heat it up. I've read horror stories about the screws stripping and they're having to do a coil tap to put in a new position sensor. So very simple. It's a star bit. Mine doesn't have a size, so whatever that is, out of focus. And then we're just going to remove the throttle position sensor. very simple. You can see it's it can only fit on there essentially one way. The sensor has a tab, so it's aligned to the top and just slides over the throttle body shaft essentially. So I'm going to grab the new one. Let's see here. So we're just going to take it and simply fit it over the top, theoretically. Very simple. So it just slides right over the top. It appears to me, and we'll find out in the video, but the way the shaft is ground, it has a flat side on both sides. It doesn't appear to have to fit a certain way. So I would assume it doesn't matter if it's 180 degrees out of rotation or not. I do not think it matters. And then it just fits in. Potentially. This is all user error. That's not the part's fault. Alright, so I got it in there flush, and you're going to tighten this down without power tools. You're going to use your screwdriver, your star bit. Let's see here. So when you put this in, make sure it's fully seated, and the radial locator tab at the TPS aligned with the radial locator hole in the throttle body. Very, very simple. I already showed you that. And it says install the 2 screws until you get to 27 pound-inch. So not much pressure. So I didn't bring my torque tool out here. So make it tight, or not too tight that you crack it. But follow directions, use a torque tool. I do have a 1/4 inch drive torque wrench that would be perfect for this. Actually, you know what? I'll go grab that and show you how to do it right. So like I said, the Motorcraft bolts do have thread locker already on them. You don't have to buy any additional thread locker. Alright, let me go grab that torque wrench and do it right. Alright, I have to bend down for this shot, but I actually do have the bit for this. So the star drive is a T20. So I have the little 1/4 inch drive torque wrench set up for 27 pound-inch. We're just going to do this like it says. Click. 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 Alright. All done. All done. Pretty simple. 27 inch-pound is nothing. It was just a little bit tighter than what I did by hand. So this is torqued down, ready to go. I will skip the installation process. If you need to know how to put the throttle body back on, go ahead and watch video number 1 on installation. In this part, I'm going to show resetting the ECU once again. So just like in the part 1 video, I'm going to use a 5/16. Your mileage may vary once again, depending on which battery post you have. Remove the negative terminal. And then we're going to grab the jumper, so make sure it's negative disconnected from the terminal. Grab your piece of wire, and you're going to put that wire not on your battery terminal, but on your battery wire post. Because I'm lazy, I'm just going to screw it on there. Just like that. And then make sure it's tucked out of the way so it doesn't touch the negative post. Then I'm just going to hold it on the positive battery terminal for about a minute, and that should relieve all the capacitors in the computer, the ECU, whatever you want to call it. That should relieve all the energy that's still in the capacitors in there. When it's been about a minute or so, go ahead, remove the wire, and put your battery terminal back on the post. Now we're going to try to start it and see if the new part works. To complete the process of resetting the ECU, you will finish up connecting the battery, and then you'll put the key in the ignition and turn it to the on position without starting it for 30 seconds. Then you'll start the vehicle. You'll let it idle for 10 minutes, and then you need to go out and take it for a 10-mile drive without driving too gently and not at full throttle. So you need to drive normal driving conditions. I would recommend going out, getting it up to highway speed for part of that, and then back into city speed. So what you're doing when you're driving out for those 10 miles is recalibrating the shift points for the transmission. So in theory, from what I've read, the transmission shift points and the throttle position sensor should all be recalibrated for the work we've done. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, that's the end of the video. Alright, let's try this again. Turn the key to the position on, let the Christmas lights go out. Don't worry about that low tire pressure. Alright, let's do this. So the initial high idle is correct, and then it drops down after a while. Yeah, that's going to be perfect, I think, right there. Throttle response is awesome compared to all the last 7 years that I've owned this truck. So this is a lot different. So I've probably had issues way before the check engine light came on.